Hey everybody, this is part 2 to the financial videos that I'm doing really quickly. And this one is going to be on zero-based budgets and special expenses calendars. So this is, like I explained in part 1, these videos came about because I made some comments on a Facebook group about somebody asked some questions about some finances and what they should do, and I made some comments about financial binders and zero-based budgets, and it just started a whole bunch of questions. And so I started commenting on them, but it just kind of spurred on more questions. And so I figured I would just do some videos real quick, hopefully take care of a lot of those questions that were coming up, and that way we can address the questions to start with, and then whatever questions come up after that, I can either do further videos or address things individually. So on this video, we're going to do zero-based budgets and then special expenses as part of your zero-based budget. So the idea of a zero-based budget is to spend every penny that you're coming in your different categories. And a lot of people think that that is crazy. The reason why you want to assign every penny that comes into your home into a category is so that you're not frivolously spending your money. The idea behind a budget, and a lot of people are scared about budgets, is because they're too restrictive, or a lot of times people don't like budgets because they're usually spending more money than they're bringing into their house, which causes them to go further and further into debt every month. And so a budget will get them back into spending basically what they're bringing into their house each month. Most Americans either spend more money than they're bringing into their house, or they're living paycheck to paycheck. Which is kind of a really, really scary statistic when we consider we need to retire someday. And in order to retire, we need to be saving a lot of money, especially if we expect our style of living to go up at retirement, which most people think that that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen if we're going to live on 40% of what we're making right now and expect we can't live on 40% of what we're making right now, but we expect our style of living to go up. So something's got to change, and it's got to change drastically very soon if that is what is going to happen. So the idea of a zero-based budget is that we plan everything that we're going to be spending money on before we get the money. That way we're not doing any frivolous spending. All of our spending goes into a category that is planned out. Essentially, you get what you expect by setting up the expectation of what you're going to do. You're making a plan, you're making a goal, and that is the idea behind a budget. So don't look at it as restrictions, look at it as a plan. So I also like to reward myself for doing budgets. And so I run a cash envelope system, and the little bit of money that's left over in specific categories where I can really control things, I get to use for personal use, whether that is buying new clothing or going out to eat or whatever it might be. I get to reward myself with that money, and that initially helps quite a bit. Now, granted, nowadays it's a little different. I started doing that, in the beginning, but now I save the money for travel because I love to travel. So it's kind of graduated into obviously more expensive things. So I need to save a lot more money in order to do what I love. But so when I set up my budget, I actually set the last Sunday evening of each month to do my budget and set up for the following month. So that's just a really good quiet night for me to be able to set up the next month for success, basically planning for success. So I start with the income that's going to come into my house, and I have two sources of income that come into my house. I have a set income that doesn't change it at all. It's a set income, and then I have an income that adjusts every month. When I do my budget, I do it based on the set income. And the reason why I do that is if I plan in the adjusted income, then and it's not as high as I anticipated it, then I have to sit in the middle of the month and adjust my budget basically, and figure out where I'm going to to cut money. And I hated doing that. And so in order for it to work for me, a budget to work for me, I quit planning on that adjusted income. That adjusted income is bonus money that goes into savings or goes towards a debt snowball. If you're working on a debt snowball, it's extra money that you can work to get rid of debt. If you are in that same situation, if you're able to live that way. And that's the way I highly recommend that you do it. So essentially I start with my income. I figure out exactly what I'm going to bring in every month. And then once I figure out my income, then I start listing my bills or my expenses from the most important to the least important. For example, my most important is always my house payment, because you got to have somewhere to live. Kind of going from the Maslow's hierarchy of life, you need your shelter, your food, your utilities. So you kind of list from there. After that, obviously your debt payments and things like that. So I list it from there, and then obviously the least important on the bottom, that's the entertainment. Items that I could cut. And so if I go over my budget, I can cut those off. The other thing that I always include, and we talked about this a little bit, other things I always include in December, that last week of December, I do a lot of planning for the year. I do planning for if I'm going to take vacations, if I'm going to, different things like that. I do my financial goals for the year, stuff like that. Another thing that I do is my special expenses. What I do is for each month of the year, I figure out what special things are going to happen in that month that I'm going to need money for. So, for example, in January, not a lot happens in January for me. It's kind of a dead month. And so I really don't spend a lot of extra money on surprise things or holidays or anything like that. But in February, for example, we have a holiday. We have Valentine's Day. So if you have a special somebody in your life or anything like that, you're going to want to budget money in for Valentine's Day. The other thing that I have coming up in every February is it's my birthday. And I like to do something, it's my birthday, I like to do something, whether it be travel or going to see my family or having a party here at my house. That all costs money. And it's not a surprise. I know when my birthday is every year, and I need to budget in for that. So I decide what I'm going to do for my birthday. That way I can plan it, and I can figure out how much money I'm going to spend on my birthday. And I go through every month like that. For example, I know exactly when my car insurance is due and how much it's going to be. And so I put that on the calendar. I know when Mother's Day is. I know when Father's Day is. In Utah, we have the 4th of July, but we also have the 24th of July. Those are big barbecue seasons. I'm a chef by trade, and so I like to cook, and I like to invite people over to my house. In November, we have it's tradition to have Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and so my family comes here, and that's additional expense. The other really cool thing that I do in November is called Pie Night, and I have all the neighbors over to my house, and it's a potluck, but it still has additional expenses. I need to plan that into my budget for November to make sure that I have everything, and it's not a surprise, it's not an emergency, and it's not an additional burden to have that party here at my house. The other thing that comes up in August is kids go back to school. If you've got kids, do you have enough money planned out for school registration, school pictures, yearbooks, whatever comes with kids going back to school? October, Halloween comes every year. Do you have money planned in for candy purchase to make sure that you take care of the kids for candy, for costumes, whatever you need to take care of that? Go through every single month of the year and figure out what are your special expenses for that month. Add them all up and come up with a grand total. Divide that grand total by 12, and then you'll get a number that you need to be saving every single month to cover those expenses. And then that needs to go into your budget every single month. That needs to just be part of your natural budget every month. That X amount of money is going into savings every month, so that when those expenses come around, you just pull that from savings, it's going to that, and it's taken care of. That just needs to be a natural habit for you, so that way when those things come around, it's not an emergency, it's taken care of, and you're ready to go. You're not putting it on credit cards, you're not in a panic, and how are you going to pay for that, because you've already planned it into your budget. The idea for your budget is to plan out everything you want. If you guys want to go on a vacation, say it's your 10th anniversary in a year, and you want to go on a cruise, and you know that cruise is going to cost you let's say $1,000 between everything. Start budgeting it for it now. $1,000 a year in advance is actually pretty easy to come up with if you plan a year in advance. Put that in your budget as a savings category. And if you do that, then it's easy to come plan out and have that money. You might have some extra money to go with it and do something really special. But make sure you plan that out. The idea of a zero-based budget is to have all of your expenses, all of your savings, all of your expenses, everything like that planned out in a category, and that everything is assigned a category. And then, all of your savings will go into your savings account in your different categories, but you put it into your savings account. I have different savings accounts. And I said, this is my emergency savings account. This is my travel savings account. This is my special expenses savings account. I do that because, it's easier for me to plan it. Do what works for you. The key behind budgets or a financial system is to do what works for you so you track your expenses and make sure that you do it. What works for me might not work for you, but this is what I do. So ultimately, make sure that everything you do has a category and an assigned amount. So at the end of the month, you have a zero. And the reason why you have a zero, and this is what I found, when I just did a regular budget and I had an amount left over at the bottom, mentally throughout the month, I knew I had an extra, say $100. I knew I had an extra $100. So it was really, really easy for me to stop by Starbucks and get that hot chocolate, or to swing through the gas station and when I got gas, to run in and get that soda. Or, oh my goodness, those jeans are on sale and I wanted them, I'm gonna run in and grab them. It was really easy for me to frivolously spend that extra money. And so that is why you wanna make sure that you have everything assigned a section, because that extra $100, if it's signed, even if it's just assigned as savings, then you save it. And it's not gone frivolously, and you don't know where your money is going, because that $100 into savings, and then you decide, that trip that we really wanted to take, we actually have the money into savings now that we could actually go. Or that extra $100 on that credit card a month, that knocks out that credit card just that much faster, and you actually see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you can start really snowballing your debt. Be really proactive when it comes to your money. If you're really proactive when it comes to your money and savings, it makes a huge, huge difference. I actually run part cash envelopes for like my food and my personal and stuff like that, and I run a credit card for my gas, because I noticed when I was running cash and I was running in to pay for my gas, then it was really easy for me to grab a candy bar or a soda or something like that. So I don't go into the gas station because I know myself. So I run and I use a credit card for my gas, so I'm not going into the gas station, and I cut expenses that way. Some people are not able to pay off their credit card every single month, and so it's not good for them to have a credit card, so you shouldn't have a credit card. So if that system doesn't work for you, don't do that. Do all cash. I use cash for my food and my personal, and initially whatever was left over on the food and personal, I got to use for myself for the next month. Now I actually carry that money over on food and personal, so that when there's a case lot sale, I can go and buy an extra case of whatever I use the most of and save money that way. I actually stockpile my food money so I can go to case lot sale, and I'm one of those crazy case lotters that will go and buy cases of cream of mushroom soup and all my toilet paper for the year. They kind of laugh at me at my local Macy's, because I'll go through with 8 things of toilet paper, and they laugh at me, and I'll say I'll be back, and I go through with 3 things of my sugar, because I know how much I need for the year, and I'll go and I'll get it when it's on sale. So you get to that point where you can start having that extra money, then you can start figuring out when things are on sale the cheapest, and that'll help you save more money too as you go throughout the year. I do the same thing with my personal care stuff, like my shampoo, my conditioner, stuff like that. I buy as much as I can through my own business, but all that extra money I tend to hold aside. So then when, for example, my business does a BOGO, I can buy extra on the BOGO. Or if my foundation goes on sale at the grocery store for 50% off, I can buy extra and have a stockpile. So you can start looking at that once you get to the point where you can dwindle down your expenses and you have that stockpile of money. You can start using that on the sales and really start saving yourself some money at that point in time. So ultimately, that's my zero-based budget. That's kind of how I use my extra. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below or message me. I love to hear from you guys. I actually plan my comments or my videos and stuff. Oh, that was cute. I actually plan my videos around your guys' comments and questions. So if you don't hear from me from videos, it means I'm not hearing from you guys. So make sure that you comment below. If you like this video, hit thumbs up. Feel free to share it, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.